our world and beyond. Space, in partnership with the European Space Agency.
We've all been guilty at one time or another of mistreating our planet, whether it's leaving the lights on when you're out or forgetting to recycle. But when you consider there are nearly 7 billion of us on Earth, these little acts of neglect really start to add up. To ensure the planet keeps ticking over, we have to monitor and protect the environment we live in.
For the last 300 years, we have been satisfied with people going out and collecting information on the environment in their local neighbourhood. But we need to know more about it. The planet has fundamentally changed because of human activity. We've entered what's called the Anthropocene. So we are manipulating the planet and how it works. The era of satellites and observations not only is upon us, but it's become an essential, fundamental part of how we run our economies and how society really stays together.
Copenhagen, famous birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen and home of the European Environment Agency. But you won't find any fairy tales here, just hard data and environmental analysis, all put together from the ground and from information transmitted via satellites. In recent decades, satellites have proved an invaluable tool for collecting an abundance of information about the state of our planet.
We have one network which is specialized in all the environmental information data collection. We're measuring air quality, water quality on the ground, and we bring that together, making sure that the data is quality assured, that it's comparable and useful for combining with satellite imagery. So that is a specific role of EEA.
The centralizing role of the European Environment Agency, or EEA, has allowed missions to focus on ecological hot topics in a truly global way.
The global is the global community who are involved in monitoring everything: air quality, water, the way we transport ourselves, energy. And environment then is a very big word. It's not just simply the plants around us. It's the fabric of how we live in cities, what we do, how we recycle our materials, where we get our materials from. And that's why the global monitoring is so important.
So satellites are vital for keeping an eye on everything, from plants to urbanization. 10 years ago, the European Space Agency launched Envisat, the largest observation satellite in the world. Though no longer operational, it has paved the way for Sentinels to take the helm. This is an ambitious multi-satellite project under joint development with the EU, ESA and the GMES, or Global Monitoring for Environment and Security Programme.
GMES continues Envisat in an operational way. You know, GMES wants to achieve what we have achieved for metrology 30 years ago. So we want to have an operational system which delivers a constant flow of data for many applications.
Sentinel-1 is planned for launch in 2013. It will then transmit data day and night in all weathers thanks to a radar observational instrument. Sentinel-2 is a highly developed piece of optical technology which can take high-resolution images with a resolution of 10 meters across a band 280 kilometers wide. While Sentinel-3, using infrared radiometry and radar instruments to measure temperatures, will mainly monitor the oceans.
Here we are really the forerunners. In metrology we followed the Americans, but in GMES we are the first in the world. And we hope very much that we start next year to deploy the satellite infrastructure. We are close to the end of the development. And then in 2-3 years we should have the full system operational in orbit.
The work GMES does is essential as its data has given priceless insights into human activity as a whole. Not to mention the strides it's made helping to understand the seasonal variation of shipping routes and the visible changes of vegetation in different geographical areas. It also means climate change is under near constant observation. And that's not all. GMES's work improves public safety by providing potentially life-saving info on natural disasters like forest fires and floods. The Global Monitoring Programme has been welcomed by the Italian Protection Institute's headquarters in Rome. here, its satellites have helped the organization's surveillance network.
We work with the satellites essentially for forecasting and prevention, and also to provide adequate responses to emergency situations. It's essential for the decision makers and for the coordinators to have a chronological view of what's happening. This helps them to make decisions and alert the operational structures on the ground. In this field, the satellite is a strategic tool for action.
Satellite in questo caso diventa quasi strategico come azione.
Maritime security is another domain which benefits from using satellites. Italian coast guards have long had close ties to ESA, so they can closely survey the comings and goings in the Mediterranean.
We had a serious crisis in the Mediterranean Sea due to the war in Libya during the Arab Spring. We asked for more satellite imagery to get a better view of our targets, to know how to better deploy our means of action.
And the conflict in Libya showed just how important satellites can be in situations of mass upheaval.
During the Libyan crisis and during the first few months of 2011, more than 30,000 migrants disembarked on the Italian coasts. During this time, we needed to estimate and control the boats leaving the Libyan coast.
It's true, satellites can't replace everything, but like in Somalia or in Libya, if we don't have the eyes of the satellite, it's like we're blind.
Purtroppo è come se fossimo ciechi.
From another point of view, satellite monitoring is a unique tool for seeing what or who wants to stay invisible. It's a good weapon against illegitimacy and crime.
Helping the maritime surveillance teams and keeping tabs on fishing quotas, satellites are truly a friend to the sea, keeping it safe whilst tirelessly watching over environmental changes. But the benefits of GMES don't end there.
A system like GMES is one of the answers to an economic crisis, because when we operate, there will be high-tech jobs for many engineers and scientists, and then also for industry to produce new products, services where governments are waiting for.
This Zeppelin gliding majestically in the air was once the height of aerospace technology here in Friedrichshafen. But times have changed, and now this plant is building satellites. The construction of the Sentinels is divided between several large, small and medium businesses scattered throughout Europe. And gone are the days of European rivalries. This undertaking really is a team effort across the continent.
We are entering into a strong cooperation to realize these complex satellite missions. The big companies are typically leading as prime contractors one of these big satellite missions, and below them there are a lot of subcontractors from the member states contributing in bigger and smaller pieces to these technological challenges.
The European Satellite Monitoring Programme will also help to invent new technologies. These advances could put Europe ahead in the space innovation race. And job creation is another area which could see a boost.
The real business finally will be created in the downstream services. So data evaluation, analysis, providing services to all kinds of institutions on European level, on local, regional level, on even global level. And this means a lot of jobs. And again, very high skilled. And this is then not only in the engineering domain, but also in the geographic domain, in the social domain, in a lot of other non-technical fields, of course.
Sentinels 4 and 5 are not satellites, but a new generation of instruments. They put on board meteorological satellites, which are part of the EUMESSAT consortium, another GMES partner, with the primary purpose of detecting and analysing air pollution. But the GMES doesn't have the full go-ahead just yet.
We need the operational budgets to start the regular operation from 2014 onward. And here we have still a problem. The European Commission has, due to tactical reasons, proposed a budget for GMES outside their budget. And this is, in the economic situation in which we are in Europe, of course, a very dangerous approach, especially for an infrastructure where a taxpayer has already paid almost 3 billion.
So money will be taken out of the EU's general budget and put into another budget funded by EU members who want to participate in GMES.
One of the challenging things is to make sure that funding is in place, not just for 1 or 2 years, but in the case of satellite programs, we're talking 10, 20, 30 years. Continuity comes very much then at making choices. We have to decide, do we want that, or are we going to have a fragmented picture? The danger, of course, is that with fragmentation comes the possibility that the whole thing will collapse, that people will walk away, and that commitment to quality, to evolution, to designing new satellites, thinking about new ways, will actually disappear, and we'll end up with a piecemeal picture which won't deliver what people are really expecting.
But fear not, this isn't GMES's swan song. Every business, like life, has its ups and downs.
It could be delayed because, as I said, ESA member states are not find it too risky at the moment to give the OK to launch the first satellite if we don't know whether there will be operational budgets available. And I hope that the governments can agree as soon as possible to a solution.
So the fate of GMES is now in the hands of the politicians.